Welcome back, everybody. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive into Sobha Limited.
Oh, yeah, Sobha Limited.
They're a major player in Indian real estate and construction.
Definitely big in that space.
And we've got their regulatory filing to the Bombay Stock Exchange and National Stock Exchange of India.
Oh, wow.
Hot off the press from yesterday, November 14th, 2024.
Very recent.
Along with their investor presentation.
Excellent.
So we're going to be stepping into the boardroom, looking at their financials and peeking into Sobha's exciting project pipeline.
Sounds exciting.
All right, let's start with some boardroom shakeups.
Oh.
Sobha just appointed Mr. Nisanth MN as their new deputy managing director,
I saw that.
starting January 1st, 2025.
Okay.
He's got a solid 22 years of experience and even won an award for Best Project Execution Head.
Wow. That's impressive.
So very qualified for this position.
For sure. And, for a company like Sobha that prides itself on delivering high-quality projects on time,
Right.
that's a key position.
Yeah.
This appointment might signal that they're doubling down on their commitment to customer satisfaction and efficient project execution.
And it's not just new faces.
Oh.
Mr. Slavatsala KN, a certified financial planner and successful entrepreneur, has been reappointed as a non-executive independent director for another term.
Interesting.
So she brings a lot of financial expertise.
Absolutely. And her financial expertise is going to be crucial for Sobha, especially after their recent rights issue.
Right.
Which basically, for those unfamiliar, is when a company offers existing shareholders the right to buy additional shares at a discounted price.
Yeah.
It's a way to raise capital.
Mm-hmm.
Sobha seems to be focusing on strengthening their financial position, and her guidance will be key in that process.
There's also been a change in the internal auditor position.
Okay.
Mr. Ashish Dugar, a chartered accountant, is taking over for Mr. Vineet Kumar Lada.
So internal audits are all about transparency and making sure a company's finances are in order. It's a critical role for any publicly traded company, and this change could indicate Sobha's emphasis on maintaining high standards of corporate governance.
Now let's dive into the numbers.
Okay, the fun stuff.
Sobha's been reporting some impressive cash flow performance in the first half of the 2025 fiscal year.
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
Their total collections are up 4.1% year on year, and they've managed to significantly reduce their net debt
How much?
by a whopping 9.82 billion rupees, bringing it down to 2.8 billion rupees after that rights issue we talked about.
Wow.
So their net debt to equity ratio now stands at a tiny 0.08.
Meaning?
What that means is they have very little debt compared to their equity.
Oh, I see.
This is a great sign of financial health.
Definitely.
It gives them the flexibility to fund new projects, manage their existing debt comfortably, and weather any economic storms that might come their way.
Makes sense.
And they've been selling homes like hotcakes.
Really?
Sobha sold a remarkable 1,026 homes in the first half of fiscal year 2025, bringing in a sales value of 30.52 billion rupees.
Wow, that's impressive.
Plus, their average realization per square foot jumped up by a significant 32.7% compared to the previous fiscal year.
That's a big jump.
So that jump in average realization is particularly interesting.
What do you think is driving that?
Well, it's partly due to Sobha launching new luxury projects and overall price increases in the market.
Oh, okay.
It seems like they're really targeting the higher end of the market, and it's paying off.
That makes sense, but is this focus on luxury sustainable in the long run?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
What factors do you think might influence that, especially considering potential economic uncertainties?
Well, there's several things to consider.
Right.
The Indian economy is growing, but there are always risks.
Of course.
Inflation is a concern and interest rates are rising.
Right.
These factors could potentially impact affordability for even high-income buyers.
So how might Sobha navigate those challenges? Do they have any plans to diversify their offerings or adjust their strategy?
That's something we'll have to keep an eye on as we dig deeper into their project pipeline.
Okay.
They do have a significant land bank, which gives them flexibility, but we'll need to see how they're planning to use it.
Right.
Are they going to stick primarily to the luxury segment, or are they considering other options?
All right, let's move on to some project updates.
Okay.
Sobha has been busy completing several residential projects in Bangalore, including Sobha Raj Villas, Sobha Dream Acres, Oasis, and Sobha Royal Pavilion.
I've heard of those.
These completions add to their track record of delivering projects on time, which is crucial for building trust with customers in the real estate world.
Absolutely. In an industry where delays are unfortunately common,
Right.
consistently delivering projects on time is a powerful way to build a strong reputation.
For sure.
It shows commitment to quality and customer satisfaction, which are essential in a competitive market.
And they haven't just been finishing projects, they've been starting new ones, too.
Oh, wow.
In the first half of fiscal year 2025, Sobha launched 5 brand new projects, totaling a whopping 3.5 million square feet of development.
That's a lot.
And remember, they had no new launches during the same period last year.
Yeah, that's a significant increase in activity.
Right.
And a clear sign of their confidence in the market.
Exactly.
It suggests they see continued demand for their projects, particularly in the luxury segment.
One of these new projects, Sobha Infinia in Bangalore, is a super luxury apartment project that caught my eye.
I saw that one too.
They're really going all out with the amenities. It's got a cosmopolitan club and even a pet park.
Oh, wow.
It seems like they're trying to create more than just homes. They're building lifestyle destinations.
Yeah, that's a trend we're seeing more and more in luxury real estate,
Right.
creating a sense of community and providing residents with a comprehensive living experience.
Mm-hmm.
Sobha seems to be embracing this trend with Sobha Infinia, and it'll be interesting to see how it resonates with buyers.
Speaking of having space to build, Sobha has a massive land bank of 435 acres of developable land across different regions in India. Bangalore, the National Capital Region Kerala, and Tamil Nadu. And on top of that, they have another 1,878 acres under consolidation monetization or set aside for their own use.
That's a huge land bank.
That's enough land to build a small city.
That's a huge advantage in the real estate world.
Definitely.
A substantial land bank like that gives Sobha the flexibility to respond to market changes, launch new projects when the time is right, and potentially explore different types of developments in the future.
Right.
It gives them options and security.
And they're not just focused on residential real estate.
Oh,
Sobha also has contracting and manufacturing businesses.
interesting.
They're currently involved in big projects like the Ashoka University North Campus in Sonipat and the Carl SEZ Hub in Bangalore.
So those diversified revenue streams are smart.
You're right.
It makes Sobha less vulnerable to fluctuations in any one market.
Mm-hmm.
If the residential market slows down, they still have those other businesses to cushion the impact.
So it seems like Sobha is playing the long game.
Yeah, I think so.
They're building a foundation for sustainable growth and making strategic moves to position themselves as a leader in the Indian real estate market.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
It's clear they're not just reacting to the market.
Right.
They're actively shaping it.
Now let's take a look at some of the specifics of Sobha's recent financial and operational highlights.
Okay.
In the second quarter of fiscal year 2025, they brought in total revenue of 9.65 billion rupees.
That's a significant jump from the 7.74 billion rupees they generated during the same quarter last year.
Yeah, they're clearly on an upward trajectory.
For sure.
And their real estate business contributed a whopping 7.81 billion rupees to that revenue, which is 80.9% of their total.
So their core business is still the driving force behind their success.
Right.
However, their contractual and manufacturing businesses also brought in a respectable 1.74 billion rupees,
Yeah.
which highlights the importance of their diversified approach.
One thing that really stood out to me was their handover rate in the second quarter.
Oh, yeah.
It increased by 57.4% compared to the previous quarter.
Wow.
They handed over 579 units, totaling 1,056,656 square feet of saleable area.
That's a massive increase.
Yeah.
And a strong indicator of their commitment to timely delivery.
Exactly.
Not only does it boost customer satisfaction, but it also translates to faster revenue recognition,
Right.
which is a positive for their financial performance.
Speaking of financial performance, let's talk about profits.
Okay.
Sobha achieved an EBITDA of 1.08 billion rupees in the second quarter.
And EBITDA stands for?
EBITDA stands for earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization.
Okay. It's
It's a measure of a company's overall operating profitability.
Gotcha.
And their EBITDA margin, which is the EBITDA divided by revenue, came in at a healthy 11.3%.
That's good.
This shows they're managing their costs well and generating solid profits from their operations. Their profit before tax PBT reached 362 million rupees.
Okay.
That's a 73.3% increase compared to the same quarter last year.
So they're not just growing. They're
Right.
becoming increasingly profitable.
And finally, their profit after tax PBT was 261 million rupees in the second quarter,
Right.
a massive 4.3 times higher than the previous quarter.
It's clear that Sobha is performing exceptionally well financially.
Absolutely. These figures paint a very positive picture of a company that's not only growing rapidly, but also becoming more efficient and profitable.
They seem to be firing on all cylinders.
So we've seen Soba's strategic moves, their impressive financials, and their commitment to delivering quality projects.
Right.
Now, in part two of our deep dive, we'll take a closer look at Soba's diverse project portfolio, starting with their newly launched luxury project, Soba Infinia.
I'm eager to dig into the details of their projects and see how they're shaping the future of Indian real estate. Welcome back. Let's dive into Sobha's project portfolio and see what they're building.
You mentioned earlier that Soba seems to be really focused on the luxury segment. Let's start with Soba Infinia, their newly launched super luxury apartment project in Bangalore.
Sobha Infinia is a great example of this trend we're seeing towards creating a complete lifestyle experience within a residential development. It's located on Agara Lake Road, a prime spot in Bangalore, and covers a sprawling 4.7 acres.
And they're not holding back on the amenities, are they? I read about that cosmopolitan club and the pet park. It's definitely targeting a very specific type of buyer.
Right. It's not just about having a luxurious apartment anymore. It's about having a luxurious lifestyle. They're offering a 20,000 square foot clubhouse, a celebration court, a pet park, a reflexology path, and a swimming pool. They're even paying attention to the details, like varying the heights of the three wings to create visual interest.
It makes you wonder what other unique features they might come up with in their future projects. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let's talk about some of the projects they've already completed. They wrapped up quite a few in the second quarter of fiscal year 2025 alone.
They did. In Bangalore, they completed 4 apartment projects: Soparaj Villas, Sopa Dreamacres Oasis, Sopa Royal Pavilion, and Sopa Lake Gardens. But their reach extends far beyond Bangalore. They also completed projects in Gurgaon, Thrissur, Calicut, and Coimbatore.
It seems like they're strategically positioning themselves in key growth areas across India. It's interesting to see how they're balancing their focus on major metropolitan hubs like Bangalore and Gurgaon with expansion into smaller cities.
That's a smart strategy. It allows them to tap into different markets and cater to a wider range of customer preferences. And it's not just about geography, they're also diversifying their product offerings. They completed several villa projects in Thrissur, Gurgaon, and Calicut, showing they're not just focused on high-rise apartment buildings.
So they're covering their bases in terms of geography and product type. It's all about having options, isn't it? But let's not forget about the projects that are still in progress. They've got a whole bunch of ongoing projects in various stages of construction.
One that stands out is Sobha Brooklyn Towers in Bangalore. It's a massive development with 5 towers, each reaching 33 floors above ground. When it's complete, it'll offer a staggering 657 units.
Wow, that's a lot of apartments. It sounds like they're betting big on Bangalore's continued growth. Are there any other ongoing projects in Bangalore that are worth mentioning?
Yes, there's Sobha Insignia, which is smaller in scale with only 33 units, but still positioned in the luxury segment. And remember, Sobha Royal Pavilion, which we mentioned earlier, is a completed project. Well, they're actually still working on additional phases there, with 6 more towers under construction.
So they're not just starting new projects, they're also expanding existing ones. It's a good mix of creating something entirely new and building upon what's already successful. Are there any ongoing projects outside of Bangalore that caught your attention?
Definitely. Sobha Metropolis in Thrissur is another large-scale project with 6 towers planned, and they're doing a plotted development called Sobha Mountain Mist in Coimbatore, which is a different approach compared to their usual high-rise projects.
It's like they're constantly exploring different ways to develop real estate. They've got Soba Dream Heights in Gift City, Soba Atlantis in Kochi, Soba Meadows Whispering Hill in Trivandrum, another plotted development called Sopa Conserved in Chennai, and Sopa Aranya in Gurgaon. It's an impressive lineup, and that's just the ongoing projects.
You're right. They've got a lot going on. And let's not forget about their pipeline of forthcoming projects, those that are in the advanced planning stages and expected to launch in the next 6 to 8 quarters. Sobha has given us a sneak peek at what they have in store, and it gives us a good idea of their growth strategy and vision for the future.
It sounds like we have a lot more to uncover. But before we jump into those forthcoming projects, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back to explore what Soba has planned for the future of Indian real estate.
Stay tuned.
We're back and ready to peek into Soba's future plans. They've got all these forthcoming projects set to launch in the next 6 to 8 quarters. What's the big picture here? What's their strategy?
Well, these upcoming projects give us a glimpse into Sobha's vision for the Indian real estate market. They've shared details on 22 projects across different regions, and yeah, they're definitely thinking big.
Bangalore seems to be a major focus for them. 9 projects lined up there totaling over 12 million square feet of saleable area. That's huge.
It really shows their confidence in Bangalore's continued growth as a major hub. They're anticipating that demand for residential and commercial spaces will just keep rising.
Makes sense, and they're not neglecting other key areas either. 3 projects for Gurgaon, totaling over 3 million square feet. That's a big investment in the National Capital Region.
Yeah, Gurgaon is another strategic location for Sobha. It's attracting businesses and residents from all over India. Sobha definitely wants to be part of that growth story.
They're even venturing into Noida with a project that's almost 700,000 square feet, expanding their footprint in the NCR.
Absolutely. By having a presence in multiple cities within the NCR, they're diversifying their portfolio and reaching a wider customer base. Smart move to mitigate risk and capitalize on the region's overall growth.
And it's not just the NCR. They've got projects in the pipeline for Pune, Coimbatore, Kochi, Trivandrum, and Calicut, going for that pan-India presence.
It's a bold strategy for sure. They're not just focusing on the biggest cities, they're identifying growth opportunities in emerging markets as well. This approach could really pay off as these smaller cities continue to develop.
Out of these 22 forthcoming projects, 18 are residential and 4 are commercial, sticking to their strengths but also branching out a bit.
Yeah, it's good balance. Demand for office and retail space is on the rise, and Sobha is well positioned to tap into that market.
It's really impressive how Sobha is strategically planning for the future. They're not just reacting to market trends, they're shaping the Indian real estate landscape.
I agree. They're making calculated moves to solidify their position as a leader in the industry, not just building properties, but building a legacy.
So what does all this mean for Sobha Limited? Financially sound, committed to delivering quality projects on time, and a pipeline of projects that will keep them busy for years to come.
They're a company to watch. They've got an experienced team, a diverse portfolio, and a bold vision for the future.
It's been fascinating to take this deep dive into Sobha Limited, and I have a feeling we'll be hearing a lot more about them in the years to come.
I think you're right. They're definitely a force to be reckoned with in the Indian real estate market.
And with that, we wrap up our deep dive into Sobha Limited. Thanks for joining us.